Well, good evening, and thank you for joining me. I've got a great show this evening. It's going to be a wonderful show. We are going to be talking about depression, but we're also going to be talking about how you can lose everything in your life, but you can get it back. And it's an amazing thing, with the right intention and doing the right things, surrounding yourself with the right people. You can achieve anything that you want. And you've heard me talk about that in the past. This is the Get to Know broadcast. I say welcome to all of the viewers. We certainly appreciate you taking time out of your schedules to come and join us this evening. And I've got Evan Tinsman. I think I pronounced that properly, but we'll make sure that he tells us so that I can get it right from now on. I've got him with me, and I'm going to bring him on the screen in just a minute. Let me tell you a little bit about uh, Evan. Evan is an entrepreneur, and he's a father as well. He has some beautiful daughters, and his mission is just to encourage others to find and use their own talents and abilities to make a positive impact in the world. He spreads a message of hope. Evan will share some of his painful experiences from the past, and he's going to tell us how he utilized his pain, the most painful experiences that he's had, as a platform for his strength and his courage. Years ago, he built a successful company from ground up, from nothing. He built it up, but he destroyed it, because of his addiction. And after hitting bottom, he chose to make a positive transformational change in his life, and so he sought help for that. And after years of hard work, he's rebuilt his business and his life. And, we're proud to have him with us this evening. From, the highest of highs to the lowest of lows, Evan is an example of how to overcome obstacles and break through the barriers that used to hold him back to accomplish anything. And you can achieve anything yourself. And his ultimate goal, though, is to teach and encourage others to unleash your greatness. And so let me, without further ado, bring him in. I really appreciate everybody. Here we go. Let's bring on in Evan Tinsman. Welcome, Evan. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great, Stephen. How are you?
I am very good. Wonderful.
Good,
Thank,
good.
thank you for joining us this evening. We certainly appreciate that. We've got some viewers out there. I'll just tell the viewers now, listen in, stay with us because you're going to miss something if you go watch something else. This is a powerful, powerful message that we've got this evening. And remember to share this video out to your friends and the groups that you belong to. And if you have a question after hearing Evan speaking, go ahead, put it in the comment, and we will address those questions as well. And so you can get it right from Evan, and we'll look forward to some of your questions. So go ahead, put questions in the comments if you would. If you don't want to, that's fine too. It's not a requirement. So Evan, welcome, and I really appreciate you taking time to come and join me. So I've known you for several months now, and we're
hmm
in the Movement Makers group with Evan Carmichael, and
Correct.
so I've seen you've been working on developing a new business. I've watched some of your videos. Maybe why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself so that we can get to know you a little bit better?
Well, you did say my last name right, Tinsman. That second T should not be there. It's actually silent, but I've gotten it my whole life. So,
Okay.
uh, um, well, Western Pennsylvania, about an hour north of Pittsburgh. Um, Two daughters, as you said. Love business. Kind of a nerd for business. Really, it's really become my passion, my hobby. As I've gotten older, some people love sports, and I threw myself into this.
Awesome.
Especially after the journey that I was on.
Right. So you decided. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Now you had a successful business. You built this business up, and you kind of wrecked that business. Maybe you might tell us a little bit about that. Just tell us what you were, if you don't mind. If you don't want to, that's
No,
okay.
I'm an open book. It's
Awesome. That's so awesome.
you know my story is definitely not the one that I envisioned when I was a child on how I thought my life was going to go and the way it would turn out. On the surface, I would probably be the last person that anybody would think this would happen to. I am the perfect example that addiction does not discriminate. I came from two well-known families. I was popular. People knew me. I played sports, small community. Um, so it just it crept up on me, and we'll get to that. But I like so many others, did, college education, got out, couple jobs, sales jobs, corporate America, and at the age I'll be 45 actually on this coming Wednesday. Wow, that went fast.
Well, happy birthday, Mary. Happy
Thanks. Yeah,
birthday to you.
actually it just hit me. I didn't even realize it till right now. But I was 34 years old when I decided to leave corporate America. Had some money saved from doing some other things, and I decided to start a business. And little did I know that my life changed on that day, and I didn't even know it. And it's because, and this is so important that I want people to understand, the most attractive thing about being an entrepreneur and starting a business, everybody thinks is having that ultimate freedom and flexibility, and it is a wonderful thing. But it is also your biggest enemy, because you have that freedom and flexibility. When you get up, if you don't want to go to work, you don't have to go to work. Nobody's going to call you. Now, you won't get paid,
Right.
but so the greatest benefit is the greatest challenge. And that's where it started for me. Insurance, financial services, and downtown Pittsburgh, client lunches, client dinners, happy hours. So business etiquette, look, I was never a partier. Like, I didn't drink heavily. I wasn't a weekend, didn't drink at home. So this is why it was so surprising for me. Like, I would take a client to lunch, I would have two drinks, I'd go back to my office, I'd go meet another client for a happy hour, have two drinks, maybe work a little more, go meet someone for dinner.
Right.
So you start doing 3, 4, 5 drinks a day, 5, 6, 7 days a week for 4 or 5 years, well, it's
Yeah.
gonna catch up with you. And it did. So I mean, that was 2011 when I really 2008 I became self-employed. 2011 is probably when I started drinking, and so I was 34, 35 years old at that point.
Wow. So you weren't drinking when you were younger. This is something that came on a little bit later.
Nothing, no more or less than what you would socially,
Social drinking.
typical, but yeah,
Right. Right.
nothing to be worried about.
So you were happy. Life was really good.
Yeah, I from the outside, I had everything: the house, the cars, the toys, all of that stuff, and
Hmm.
it. You talk about depression, so I don't know how we're going to weave into all of this, but everything you've talked about kind of falls into my story.
Right. Right. Well, um, let me ask you this then. Well, first we want to say hi to Rachel. We appreciate you coming and joining us as well, Rachel. She actually works with us here at the LWN Foundation and is admin in our group. Life begins when you start living. Inspire people who inspire others. But um, depression. Well, I know for myself that I was
Hmm.
pretty depressed when I was drinking. I mean, because our stories are somewhat similar.
Hmm.
You haven't gotten to the point where, yeah, things are good, so you're having some drinks. Socially, I mean, I do remember drinking my lunch a few times, certainly. Um, in that case, yeah, it would be amazing if I actually got back to the office, the bunch of us, you
Hmm.
know. So we weren't setting a very good example at that time of my life. And I thought everything was good, but it got out of control, and
Hmm.
for me, and so yeah, I dealt with depression. I don't know if you, so depression has been the theme this week. Um, it's part of feeling not good about yourself, obviously. So, was
Right.
there a point that you really weren't feeling happy about things, and then I mean, there had to be some
A-
point, that it's like light bulb goes off. It's like, wow.
Absolutely. It was drinking started heavily 2011.
Hmm.
I can tell you exactly when I'm hoping that this will get to people that may not have gone down the path that you and I did, to
Yes.
try to give them some red flags of like, oh, I might be doing this, or hey, I might need to pay attention. I specifically remember the day it changed for me. I don't know the date, but I remember the day. I was a gin and tonic drinker, so I'd have to go out. You need gin and tonic and ice and lime, and it had
Right.
to be mixed. So you go out and then you go back to work. And I used to watch a TV series, and I fell in love with this one character, and it was based in the '60s, and they had bar carts in their office. And this character drank whiskey, and I wasn't a whiskey drinker. One day I'm driving to the post office. I'm thinking, you know what? Let me try that. I stop, I get a bottle, I take it back to my office because you can drink it room temperature and neat. And I poured a little bit in my coffee cup. I'm like, I didn't really like it. So I set it aside, went back to work. The next morning, I saw it sitting there, and I remember being on vacation once, and I saw a guy put whiskey in his coffee. So I'm like, oh, let me see what that tastes like. So I did it, and this is where I say, when lunch came, I stopped. I was putting whiskey in my coffee. When lunch came, I stopped putting coffee in the whiskey, and I got hooked on it. And I'm thinking, well, this is easier. It's less expensive. I don't have to go out. I can drink it. I don't need all the mixers. And I went from maybe 4 or 5 drinks a day. Within 3 months, I was drinking between a fifth and a fifth and a half a day.
Oh boy.
So I functioned for about 4 years. I functioned, and then about 18 months I didn't. So that was probably 2015 to 17. I mean, I destroyed relationships. I destroyed friendships. I lost clients. I made bad business decisions. I ruined myself financially. I didn't lose my business, but I probably could have walked away from it. It was just I left a wake of destruction. I had family members disgusted with me. And here's when I knew that I had the problem. Like ultimately, January of 2017, I hit the lowest of lows. I don't really talk in much detail, but I think people can put the together of
Hmm.
the thoughts. And I did. I just had one of those surrender moments, and I have faith, and I just said, I can't do this. I need help. Give me a sign as to why I shouldn't do this. And thank God, and here I am. But that was January of 17.
Hmm.
And then I looked at some different things. I went to some counselors, but I wasn't really ready for it. As a sales guy, I manipulated them. I didn't tell them everything, a little bit of denial. I tried to get hypnotized. I was too far gone. Um, and it was in August. A friend of mine was in drug and alcohol, and I called her, and she's like, I was wondering when you were going to call me. So I got a local counselor, and then I got set up with a company. And I don't know if you ever heard of it, but I did 21 months of a monthly Vivitrol shot as a
Okay. Yeah.
neuro blocker.
Hmm.
So I did that for 21 months. I still go to a weekly counselor. Now it's just more for like therapy. I don't, that's not so much the drinking, but I established a very strict morning routine to deal with it. You give something up, you have to replace it.
Hmm.
So I get up at 3:34. I meditate. I see you up. I meditate. I read. I stretch. I pray. I journal. I eat breakfast. I go run. I run twice a day, and then I'm showered and ready to go by 7:30. And that just that became my new norm. But there was still something off for me. And even though I lost 50 pounds, was feeling good, coming a long way, had the drinking behind me, but I was still having these episodes where like I'd go like 2 months and I could run through walls, and all of a sudden one day I'd get and like I can't get out of bed. Like I want to get out of bed, but I can't get out of bed. I have all this stuff to do, but for some reason I can't do it. So it's almost like going manic, and or hypomanic actually. So my counselor told me, she's like, there might be one last piece that you need. She's like, you may want to go get like a psych eval. And she's like, you might need something mild. So I did about 6 months, 7 months ago, and um, mild depression, anxiety, all that kind of stuff. And I've been taking a mild antidepressant for like 6, 7 months. And that seems like it was the final piece to my puzzle. So this
So did
actually
they?
fits in with your theme.
So they diagnosed you with depression, is what they had said. Yes, right.
Yep.
And yet you didn't even really realize that.
Didn't
Yeah,
even know it.
yeah, yeah. And I know for myself, it's kind of like, and I think it's for others. You can't see the forest for the trees when you're right in the middle of it, kind of
Right.
thing. And everything is okay. I'm doing great, right? I've got no problems.
Hmm.
Life is good. Um, but for myself, I had to recognize that my drinking career didn't bring me any success. It did nothing
Right.
but, caused nothing but damage and devastation and pain for everybody around me. And so um, you decided, all right, you're getting the help. Then you're not drinking. You're deciding that you're going to get this business back together. So tell us about that then.
So the biggest thing that I had to come to terms with was to realize why I was drinking.
Hmm.
Um, it was it may have started out social, but if you have addiction, if you suffer from an addiction, chances are, if you look back over your life, you
Hmm.
will see addictive patterns and addictive behaviors, maybe on different things. Like I was a workaholic in corporate America, or maybe when you're a kid, it's like and I came to realize you're looking for external things to fill in, external things to fill internal voids. And like a lot of people, I have some issues from my past and childhood, and which, I don't really get into those details. It's pointless at this stage of life, but they
Hmm.
were, they had some significant impact on me, but I only came to terms with that after going through 2.5 years of therapy. So I was always looking to fill that void. I needed to feel better.
Hmm.
So the last 2 years, it's been like, I don't know about you, but I still, there's a difference between an urge and a craving. Like a craving is like,
Hmm.
oh, I'm going to the beach. That'd be really good. I was a stress drinker. So like if I have days sitting at my desk and I feel stressed, my body still turns and wants to go get it. So I have to diffuse that and
Right.
get a coffee, go for a walk, get a tea. So
So,
I had to learn
yeah.
the difference between a craving and an urge, and how to refocus and recognize, well, that's something internal, and something external is not going to fill that. So it's
Right. So you got triggers, and so then you had to put some
correct.
tools together to recognize. Okay, well, that's triggering me. Go do this. So what techniques did you use at that point, or that you've learned when you're triggered to say, oh well, yeah, and it's habitual too. So it's a habit. It's
Right.
coming straight from the subconscious at you.
I still struggle. I still struggle with those urges.
Yeah. Yeah.
And 2 weeks ago, it stood out to me. Like I realized it. I eat a very clean diet as part of this. I'm very, very structured and regimented. That's how I keep myself on track. I keep my mind busy with, and my time filled with positive things, because I figure if I'm always doing something positive, it doesn't give me downtime to think or contemplate doing something negative. So
Right.
I try to stay as busy as I can. That's why I get up early, do this, just I do whatever to keep myself surrounded by people and business. And, this is kind of tough with this whole quarantine thing. I'm a people person,
Yes.
I'm a sales guy. So being stuck in an office, I really have struggled this month. And
Okay.
2 weeks ago, and I run twice a day. I run a 5K in the morning and 2 miles in the evening,
Wow.
just
Okay.
to keep myself. And it was Wednesday, and I started eating a bunch of carbs. And I don't eat a lot of carbs, but boy, did it taste good. Comfort food, right? And then I did on
Sure.
Thursday, and then I did on Friday. So it's like you're feeling good, but same thing as alcohol. Like I was actually feeling bad because I wasn't exercising. I was feeling heavy.
Yeah.
And I realized I was looking for that dopamine. I was looking for that external comfort.
Right.
So I actually had to break the thought process, which is what you have to do. So I
Exactly.
made a decision, like, you know what, I'm going to do a 48-hour fast Friday night to Sunday night. And I just did liquids, protein shakes. So it was kind of like to let my body cleanse, all the carbs and the sugars and stuff that I ate, but more so just to kind of force me to think like, hey, look, you were going down that path. And just because it wasn't alcohol doesn't mean that those behaviors aren't there.
Right.
But the one thing it did reinforce to me, and I don't know if you dealt with this, I'll be 3 years sober August 28th. And
Excellent. Congratulations.
um, thank you. And
Yeah.
I don't know if you struggle with this, but the last probably year and a half, I've been one of those people like, I wonder if I could have one. Like like I miss the little things. I don't miss
Mhm.
drinking. I miss not being able to toast champagne on New Year's. I'm in a very cultural small town, so it's or ethnic. So there's a lot of
Mhm.
homemade wines and things like that. So I miss being able to go to like someone's Sunday dinner and taste their homemade wine. Like the little
Sure.
things,
Sure.
because that reminds me, Evan, you screwed up so bad that for the rest of your life you can't even do something so simple. And that food made me realize I can never take the chance and try to just have one because it's still in me. So I do know that. So that's maybe
Right.
something good that came
That's
out of it.
well, that is important. Some people can recognize that they're drinking excessively and back it down and drink moderately or, socially and do that. Others can't because it
Right.
does trigger you. But I think that for myself, I get, like you say, maybe a craving. Sometimes something happens, or, oh, well, that would drive me to drinking or something like that. It doesn't last long at all for me anymore because
Mm-hmm.
I do what you said. I immediately change my thinking and think
Mm-hmm.
something positive. And it's also what you said about routines. And so I'm in a very strict routine, particularly my mornings are very, they're like holy to me. And I don't like getting
Hmm.
interrupted or bothered when I'm going through this because I do the same thing. I get up at
Right.
3 o'clock in the morning. Um,
Right.
but it's good. So I fill my time uh, up. I don't have a lot of spare time. And what I found for myself was it was about complacency. So I want to say I
Hmm.
don't deal with urges personally anymore, which is beautiful, And for me, it's a spiritual thing. I'm certain that I turned my will and my life over to the care of God because I decided me on my
Right.
own power. I'd said 1,000 times, I can't, I'm never going to drink. And yet the next morning you're drinking, it's like, oh, God, really?
Yeah. Yeah. This is the last time. This is the last time.
Right.
Just after this one.
One's too many and 1,000's not enough. It's the kind of thing. But so this is where abstinence really does play a factor. And if we
Right.
don't take that first drink, then there's no need to take any more. And I've used skills like eating a chocolate chip cookie or something. And I know that that's not the healthiest thing in the universe, but it does taste good. And it's like, okay, but it changed it. And in the long run, that chocolate chip cookie might not be good for me. So I got to do some things for my health from the health and wellness standpoint. But
Right.
by God, it's cheaper than the drunk driving ticket or
Exactly.
killing somebody driving or something
God
like
forbid.
that. So I mean, in the
You,
big picture to me, it's like I'll go with the
you know,
cookie.
you just hit it. The whole reason I'm now figuring out what I'm doing here, with you, with
Yes.
my social, with my posting, I feel so grateful each and every day that God spared me, that I did not get a DUI. I did not get hurt. I did not hurt anybody else. And I wrecked my car 3 times. And I mean, all that kind of stuff, but
Yeah, it
legally,
happens.
clean bill of health, all of that. I feel so grateful that every morning when I wake up, before I even put my feet on the ground, the first thing I say is, thank you for giving me another day to do it right. Please help me to be better today than I was yesterday and help me inspire somebody else today. So if I go the rest of my life and I can just prevent one person from going down the path that I did or you did,
Mhm.
and it might help or save somebody, then all of this was worth it. I get a lot of backlash in my small town because they've known me forever. So now all of a sudden they're like, well, who's this guy? You've been in insurance and finance and real estate your whole life. Like now all of a sudden what are you doing on social media? Like, so
Right.
I realize this is to go beyond your borders. I mean, look, I
Yes.
meet you, you're in Florida, and from a guy in Canada, like it's just, it's a beautiful thing. Um,
It
but
is a
that's,
beautiful thing, and you said
that's,
some you do the same thing I do in the morning, and I say that a lot. The first thing I do is say that prayer of gratitude. And it
mhm,
starts setting that stage for the day to be successful because
right.
gratitude releases the neurochemicals, the dopamine and the serotonin and the
Mhm,
oxytocin, and so we do have to substitute. And um, with respect to the depression, by substituting other things and positive thinking, we can pull ourselves out of it, but it's not an easy chore. It does take the
right.
consistency, and that's what's important. And I think
Right.
it's so dynamic. I mean, I'm just very proud of you for what you're doing, and
Thank
that's
you.
why I've been wanting to have you on this show because our stories are similar. There's a lot of people out there suffering, and like you said, we hope that if this sounds somewhat familiar, that you don't have to go to the links. And everybody's bottom is different. Of course, the worst bottom
Mhm,
is called death, or almost death, and or killing somebody else if you're out there drinking and
right.
driving. So I'll say this. I got
So,
to say this: don't drink and drive. Nobody drink
oh,
and drive,
right.
right?
Uh, uh,
So
I probably drove intoxicated every day for 5 years, about 60 miles each way to work. Like
right,
I'm not even saying that there's days I don't even remember driving home, and I don't
right,
want to talk about it, but like I think about that stuff. I'm like, oh my
but
goodness.
it happens,
So, you know, I've been this past month, I've been very concerned, like even talking with my counselor therapist, the
right?
quarantine. Like I've
Yes,
had tremendous sympathy for people with addiction because I like those that don't understand. This is going to sound crazy to anybody that does not drink or have an addiction. I
right,
used to remember, like, say on Sunday nights, maybe I'm out cutting the grass or something, and I realized Monday morning was, say, Martin Luther King Day, federal holiday, and the state stores were closed. And I hit a panic thinking, oh my gosh, I can't go get what I need. And you start going into that panic. And then you're like, oh, wait, I can actually go somewhere and buy it at a restaurant or, well, here, all of our restaurants are closed. Our state stores are like, you can't go. And even to go across the Ohio border, you have to have an Ohio license to get it. So I'm thinking of all these people that
Right.
don't have the right treatment, the right therapy, the what that are might be going through withdrawal and
Exactly.
the drugs with the relapse because the treatment and the therapists are closed. Like that is really heavy on my heart right now.
That's a
Um,
very good point, Evan, because there's probably a lot of people, and I happen to know for a fact that alcohol withdrawal is the most serious. More people die from alcohol withdrawal than any other drug
right.
available because your heart starts going at 10,000 miles an hour and you have a heart attack and you have a stroke. You stroke
Hmm.
out. And so it is very serious. And so you've got a good point with that. There's some people that are
Yeah.
probably really suffering. And this is where we hope for those people that, somehow or another, that maybe at this point in time, although it might be difficult in some places, is that you get some professional help, right? Uh,
If you can, well, that's the whole point. If you can get to them, because
if you
like
can
my
get it.
therapist where I go to, like they're not allowed to do their groups or anything anymore,
Right.
and so they're trying to do it virtual.
Yes.
So and they just, I don't know. It's just I don't know what the solution is, but that's been bothering me. But
Right.
on a positive side,
Yes.
I have been struggling, and you were probably part of the conversations with the group we're in. I haven't
Right.
been able to figure out, well, how do I'm so passionate on this personal side
Yes.
because I feel like I have something to share and I can
Yes.
really make an impact. And I try to put impact as my word into everything. I want to make
It
an
is.
impact on every person I come in contact with. So if I can impact someone over here,
Yeah.
but I'm so passionate on business, being an entrepreneur, I'm like, well, how do I put those together? And last week it hit me. So I destroyed my business through a series of bad decisions. That was self imposed. I hit my rock bottom and I get it, mine involved a substance. But I still decided at a point in time where I could have walked away, threw my hands up in the air. I said, you know what? I'm going to take responsibility. I'm going to dig in. I'm going to suck it up. I'm going to humble myself. So I started calling people saying, listen, it was me, but it wasn't me. If you work with me, I'll make you whole. Just swallowing my pride and like, hey, if I tell people like if you knew me between 2011 and 2015, there's a really good chance I owe you an apology. And if I do,
Right.
here it
Yeah.
is.
That's
So
an
now you
important part of releasing some of the
yeah,
things that might be depressing us is actually
right,
making, as they call it, amends with others
right,
and saying you're sorry. And
right,
then also forgiving the people that wronged you, to
right,
get
right.
rid of that burden as
Right.
well.
So, but now you take all these businesses now, these business owners, well, they're because of the shutdown, and
Yes.
I've had 10 business clients go out of business in the last 2 weeks. They're done.
Wow.
56 jobs lost. One's a second generation. One of
Uh,
my clients' wife actually called me. He's in the hospital because he attempted suicide last Friday because he thought his family would be better off getting his life insurance money. That's the kind of
oh my
stuff I'm dealing
goodness.
with.
Wow.
But so now I figured out here's where I can bring my personal story. So I
Yes.
put myself in that position. These men and women, they might be at their rock bottom in business. They might be at their wits end. They might be flirting with addiction because everyone's home and they're talking about drinking and who's got the bottles and just in fun, but it only takes one to cross that line and you don't know where that's at. So
Right.
now I'm trying to put my message out there with people with things like this, like, hey, look,
Yes.
I know you didn't do this to yourself. I did, but I was at the lowest of lows. I lost everything. I wanted to quit. I had no hope. I had no options. I didn't know what to do. So the same principles that I used to start digging myself back from where I was, I can now help them to apply it to their world. Because mine came from addiction. Theirs came from the government,
Hmm.
but they're
Hmm.
still at a low and they could be drinking and they could be
Yeah.
contemplating. So I finally found a way to mesh the two together.
And that's so excellent because it doesn't really matter whether it's an addiction to alcohol or drugs or shopping or spending too much money, or
Right.
working and then all of a sudden realizing I can't work now. What it doesn't matter. And so many people are struggling now. I mean, the divorce
Right.
rate is going right up. There's a spike in divorces. There's a spike in suicide, and I know
Right.
that that's one of the reasons why I tried to focus on trying to help people, let people know, and the technology is so awesome that we can do this. And that's
Right.
another reason why I wanted to bring you on here as well, because I believe in you and I know that you're going to help a lot of people. I just simply know this. I'm
Thank
going to
you.
pop
I
some
appreciate
pictures
that.
up here. This is, I know it kind of blocks us out. I haven't figured out how best to do this. Maybe I need to remove. Um, Let me try something else. That didn't do it either. So this is your deal, the impactful life. Unleash your greatness, right?
Yeah,
And
it's a little quirky, but it kind of, I say, in order to live an impactful life, and I use the impactful because I'm going to use it, like podcasting, the impactful life, whatever. But impactful life, I broke it down to like my three tenets are enjoy life, live intentionally, and help others. And you can do that in your personal life, your social life, your professional life. You can enjoy it, you can be intentional, and you can help others. And if you do that on a consistent basis with everybody you meet and everything you do, that's how you can live your version of an impactful life. And I say, and if you're able to do that on a consistent basis,
Mhm.
you're going to naturally just unleash your greatness.
It
I
is. It is about
so when,
consistency, isn't it?
right.
Yes.
I
What were you gonna say?
I wear it on my wrist every day. So it's like if I'm
That's
having
so
a bad
awesome.
day or I'm off, I just kind of look down and it keeps me on point. So
We have
yeah,
a
it's
question
quirky,
here,
but
and I'd
yeah,
love to go to it. This guy's a great
yes.
guy. I've watched his videos as well. L. Patrick Dickerson, a really super guy. Um, and he's asking you, Evan, have you explored Patrick Lesoni?
No, actually,
Lencioni.
I,
So there's
I
a
have
link.
not.
Okay. So there's a link
Okay,
in here. You can go back after we're done, and I'd ask you to do that.
I
And
definitely
then just
will.
because
Thank you.
people are reaching out to you here as well. Um, we also want you to remember, folks, please share this video out. If you know somebody that can benefit from this video, we want you to send it out. We want to send the light out. We want people to know there is hope. It doesn't matter how bad it is, or even whether it's the addiction issue. It's about feeling bad too, and getting dragged down into the dirt and recognizing that somehow or another, if we do the right things, just even that somehow, it will get better. But we know
Right,
that you have to do things, and we've been talking
right.
about some of those things
Do
tonight as
you do
well.
you? I don't know if you agree with this or not,
But
but this is how I explain it to people on how fragile it is to become addicted. I can't speak for drugs because I never did. I did not go down that path.
hmm
I tell people like you don't know you have a drinking problem until you cross a line. The problem is you don't know where that line is until you cross it.
hmm
And once you cross it and you realize you crossed it, it's very difficult to come back on your own. And I realized at some point in my life in the past, I could have been out at a nice dinner, I could have been at a lunch, I could have been having a nice glass of something harmless,
hmm
and that one drink could have been the one that just tipped my chemical scales and
right,
sent me down that path. So
yeah,
there could be people right now, not working, social drinking, casual drinking at home, maybe a little
hmm
bit more than they normally do because they're bored. And somebody's going to have that one drink tonight that just altered their brain, their chemical, and they
right.
don't even realize it. And 6 months from now, they very well could wake up where we were. That's
They
why,
could. One of the things that I recognized, and I was, of course, guilty of because I was drinking, was I wasn't there in a sober mind if anything really happened. If in the middle of the night something were to happen and my kids needed help, I wouldn't be able to drive them to the hospital. I wouldn't even
but
be able to probably understand what I should do because of the intoxication. And so it's like so yeah, it was fun, but boy, I just jeopardized everybody around me as a result of it. And so I
right,
remind myself of those kinds of things. It's like
right.
so today, just like yourself, we're both trying to be role models for others, right?
Nobody wakes up one day and says, "You know what? I think today is the day I want to destroy my life and the life of everybody around me."
Right.
Like I hear so many people say, "Well, it's a choice." No, nobody
Uh,
decides that. It happens, and I'm not justifying it, but truly, I had
Yeah.
a business, I had kids, I had I had everything you would want on the outside, but something was missing. And everybody says, "Well, do it for your kids, do it for your health." Like,
Uh,
you
yeah.
don't actually believe I want to hurt them, right? You
Right,
know,
right, right. Well, that's a
it's
good
just
motivator, but I'll tell you what I've learned, Evan, is that I've learned for myself that if you're doing it for the kids, or you're doing it for the wife, or you're doing it for your parents, the chances of your success are pretty slim. I mean, the
right,
chances of success, anyways, they say the numbers are 1 out of 3. So it's like you can, if we're all have a problem with alcohol and you turn to the left and you turn to the right, one of the three of us are not, only one of us are going to stop. The other two
right,
aren't. Could lead to
right.
death. So that's what I learned personally. Um, so it takes an individual that's willing to do something about it. If they're going to decide, gosh, I just hate my life the way it is, which is
Hmm.
understandable, but they want to change it for themselves so they can get inner peace and happiness. That's
Right.
the person that's going to be successful if they do all the right things of putting this healthy routine together.
Well, I can tell you since August 28, 2017,
I
all three of these shelves, it's
I
one a
see that.
week. It's one a week. And I
I,
sit over there at my desk and I look over, so it kind of reminds me.
I'm going to go
Um,
right now, and I'm going to say, of course, I see those books. I know those
yeah,
books.
but
They're right
it is, and
here.
that's
One of
yeah.
them is, of course, the new one is right here.
You know you know it's I don't have it here. My therapist gave me a really good book when it
Yeah,
started. Particularly, it's called The Happiness Trap, and it's more of it's based around a therapy called ACT, acceptance commitment therapy. It's really good for anybody. It's even good for people that might have a loved one that they're dealing with to help,
yes,
um, to understand like just how to accept things. I mean, we may have to accept that we've had some issues, and then you have to commit that you have to let it exist somewhere in your world. You can't block it out. And
right.
then the therapy part is just the action steps. But
Well,
I,
you've also got your one word, and so can we start with that? What is your one word, Evan?
impact.
Impact. There we are. So it's impact. And we're learning, I think, a whole lot. I know that I am in these groups with
Hmm.
Evan Carmichael. I mean, I feel very blessed that I'm
Hmm.
involved with that. And of course, exponentially now I've got you here and you're talking on our show, and it's like so awesome. I'm like, can't wait to share this into the group, right?
Well, you know how I found him, right? You know my quick version of that.
No, let's hear it because we know that
So
we're using Evan to help us become better people and business people.
So when I was first getting sober, I gave up like politics and news and just I
Hmm.
was sitting in my office one day. I just realized like I got to get rid of all this negativity. I would listen to talk radio and stuff. I go to YouTube. I'm like, well, I don't know I didn't even play with YouTube. I typed in the only name I knew, Tony Robbins.
All
So
right,
for the first 2 weeks, I say I was watching the Tony Robbins don't jump videos, right? The feel good stuff.
all
Well,
right.
he made mention of a guy, and I started listening to him, and he's got a book, and then they mentioned, and it just kind of goes down. But as I kept looking these people up, I kept seeing these top 10, and his
Hmm.
name, Evan, so I'm like, who is this guy? So I started listening to his content, and I can actually tell you the one that hit me was he did the one with Mel Robbins, where she was on Tom Bilyeu's show, and I learned about the five
Hmm.
second rule. And so, anyways, it was really his content led me to all of these people. Most of these people came from his videos.
Right.
So his content helped get me through my process. Every morning when I would meditate, I would go straight to his channel, and I would look for different people and different
Hmm.
things. And then all of a sudden, I see just through sheer happenstance that this guy is going on tour. First stop, Pittsburgh. I'm like, I just I don't want anything. I just need to let him know what he did for me. It was January. It was snowing. This was a year ago. This past so 15 months ago, whatever.
Mhm.
And Pittsburgh's about an hour and 10 minutes south of here, and it was snowing. So I drive down there on a snowy night, go to this room. He's there, Nina's there, and there's maybe 40 people, 50 people. And I just sat there and I went up to him. I said, listen, I don't want anything from you. I don't really even need to hear what you're saying, but I didn't come here for that. I literally came here just to thank you, to explain to you what you did to help me, and you don't even realize it. So we kind of, and I took him a thing of the etymology of the name Evan. So, just the connection is a little
Right,
thank you
sure.
gift. And the next day, he asked me to come back down to the Airbnb he was staying at, and there was two other people. They picked three, and I spent 3 hours doing a one-on-one with him, and cameras, and they were
Awesome.
filmed it all. So I spent like 3 hours with him and got like phenomenal advice. So then I kind of followed him around, his online, followed him, and then his last stop a couple months later was in Cleveland, which is an hour that way. So I'm right in between them. So I went to his first and his last stop, and just furthered the relationship a little bit,
Mhm.
and then I just stayed in contact, stayed engaged with them, back and forth, some messages, then the groups, and it has grown. And
Yes.
there's a perfect example of how now, like, here's a guy that I went from my darkest moments of trying to figure out why I want to move on in life to a year later having the interaction with him, and now being where I'm at, where you're at.
Mhm.
I mean, we're proof that if you decide what you want to do, well, you know what? If anybody's trying to catch up with that, in order to move on from your problems, your addiction, what once you start to get that under control, you have to do three things. Number one, you have to decide, what do I want? What do I want to accomplish? Like, what do I want? Number two, you got to figure out, well, what specifically do I have to do each and every day as an action step to get there? And number three, you have to decide, most importantly, am I willing to do it each and every day on a consistent basis, whether I feel like it or not? And that's kind of the path that his content put me on. Now, I've always been an
Mhm.
overachiever. I've always been driven. I've always been successful, but I always had something missing. I always did it to chase that dopamine, to fill that internal void. I don't have that struggle now. Now I
Mhm.
have it for a bigger purpose. I have it for legacy. I have it for impact. I have
Yes.
it for my kids. So now I have the right motives.
Yes.
And it
Yes.
took it took me to be 44 years old to get there.
That is so awesome, and that is commendable. I mean, I know that Evan is Carmichael has influenced me in hugely positive ways as well, um,
Hmm.
and it's such a great thing. We're in this movement makers group. I'm just going to plug it because I'm a big believer in Evan Carmichael, and it's a fantastic group. It's all revolves around this book. The Built to Serve. We've learned a lot, and we're learning how to do our business. And what's so beautiful is that Evan is trying to help other people. He's just like on the same pathway I am. We are built to serve, just like Evan Carmichael says. And this is the guide, and we're in the group, Movement Makers, and you can join that too and be a part of that. It's a great support group. So there you go, Evan Carmichael. We love you.
Yeah.
you know, um,
It's turned into a whole new business for me. In
yeah,
addition, I mean, it's a whole new venture. I mean, I still have my company that I do, and have
yes,
hundreds of clients all over the country.
yes,
But what started out as just a little hobby a year ago, I mean, I barely knew it. Now I have three Facebook channels, my two
yeah.
Instagram accounts, YouTube channels.
Wow.
Like, it's just amazing
Well,
how it's starting to grow.
I know I wanted to address that because and there is a question here. I love Robert Shallow. We got lots of people here. Robert Shallow, Mona Hafez. We had L. Patrick Dickerson, Rachel as well with us. A bunch of people are watching. People I can't even
Nice.
see, and we appreciate you. We really do. Please share this video
Uh,
out. There's a lot of hope and inspiration in this video, and we are getting to know Evan Tinsman.
Tinsman. Yep.
I get messed on
Leave
that T, but it's
leave
silent.
leave
Everybody,
leave it
leave
out.
the
Leave it.
leave the
Yeah.
T alone.
Leave the tea out.
But I wanted to get to the point where, yeah, I mean, I'm watching these posts in the group, and then it's like, yeah, I'm talking to this whole company, all the 200 some odd employees, and you're making some big moves. You were on a podcast the other day, the podcast
Right.
about overcoming addictions and getting the best out of your life. So you're doing some speaking engagements. Tell us about that.
Mm. I've always done it on a local just because of my sales and management and training background. I have very few God-given talents and abilities. Sales is definitely at the top of the list.
Okay.
In a good way, in a good way, in a
Yes.
professional way. It's
Well,
an
sure.
art. It's most people, you think of sales, it's almost like some attorneys, you think of like, the shyster, the swindler, the whatever. I look at
The
it
used
more as
car
like,
salesman, so to say.
well, it's I was gonna make a joke, like I actually was in the auto business, but not
Well,
on
so
that
was
side
I.
of
I
it.
mean, I sold
On a
new
different
cars
side,
though. I sold new
on a
cars
di-
though. No,
on a
I sold
different
used
side.
cars too, by the way.
But a good salesperson is somebody with information. A
Yeah,
good
yeah, they are.
salesperson will tell you
Yeah,
their opinion as to why you should or shouldn't do something
yeah,
so that you can make your own decision. So it's more of an educator to help walk you through a process so that you can make an educated decision, and then you're happy and then I get paid, and then
yeah.
that's a reciprocal relationship. So I've always done like businesses, trainings. They'd bring me in, ask to talk to small
Okay,
groups. I've done local civic groups. I do the high schools. I coach high school kids on business and just as little volunteer stuff. But now that it's kind of going, with the social media, I meet
yeah,
you. You're in Florida. The podcast that someone reached out to me, they were in Atlanta. I'm
right,
talking to someone about doing one. I think they're in Chicago, and
right.
so it's just it's definitely the direction I feel myself going. Um,
Excellent. Well, you know
yeah.
what happens is that when you start putting that energy out, I don't know if you believe in the law of attraction or not, but I do. I believe it. I believe it's a law of nature. Of course, I'm a big nature guy. I mean, that's what my grounding comes from. Um, well, yes, think you grow rich. Okay, so you understand what I'm saying about here. Yeah, the secret, all that. So,
That's down there too.
yeah, of course, it would be. Yes, exactly. Yes, I know. I can believe that. So the law of attraction is taking place, and that's why we're here tonight. And the law
Right.
of attraction takes place when you start doing this and you put out that frequency of positivity and then start surrounding yourself with people like, Evan Carmichael and listening to Tony Robbins and people like that. Um, um, John Maxwell, people like that put this
Hmm.
positive stuff, and we get to learn and grow as a result. It's so awesome. So then all of a sudden these things start happening, and they're there because the universe let it be there, but it is up to us
Right.
to grab a
Well,
hold of it and do something with it.
you know what's really interesting? It's funny because things very seldom ever go the way you plan them. So I've been learning with the social media and learning how to create content, and I'm working with some local businesses on how to create their own social media
Hmm.
marketing and kind of a monthly. You pay me X amount per month, I'll set them up, and I manage the content. And I saw that as like the
Hmm.
commodity side of the business. Here's a service, pay me money, right? And I'm thinking, well,
Hmm.
there's a great niche there. And then I'm thinking with my social platforms I'm building out with, I got evantinsman.com. It's not up yet, but like, okay, where's the end
Hmm.
result? And the one thing I said was, I'm going to leave this out of it. Like I'm going strictly entrepreneur, capitalist, whatever. And what's funny, every conversation that I'm having is on the very thing that I said I wasn't going to talk about. So it's like I'm very curious and eager to see where is this taking me. So I'm open to it. I'm not whatever happens, but I feel like, maybe I was going this way and God saying, no, you know what? I need you over here. Like I spared you,
Hmm.
now you have to go this path. So it's just funny because when I mapped out this whole business plan, like this whole elaborate plan, it was like
Sure.
website to funnel to this to this to this. Now I'm not doing it. I'm over here talking about the addiction, which I said, well, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about funnels. I hear you talk about it. Let's talk about that later, though, because you're going to teach me something on the funnel thing.
Yeah, no, but I mean, it's just like,
But I tell you, I've got a question here from Robert Shallow.
yeah,
He was on our Get to Know here very recently with a dynamic guy. He wrote this book, The What If Theory.
okay.
Always love doing these questions. It makes you think, it brings you together. And so we'll have you answer this question. So Robert Shallow is asking you, Evan, what if I decided, so that's you, what if you decided to go for what you want? What can you accomplish?
The the obvious cliche answer would be whatever you want,
Right,
but I think it comes down to truly identifying what that is. I don't know if
right.
that's, something physical, something spiritual, emotional, financial. I think it's really getting a good understanding of what you want specifically. And more importantly, I think it's important, it's critical to figure out why you want that, to kind of get the underlying motivator. Because if somebody says, "Well, I really want to be successful in business," is it because you want money or is it because you're trying to prove something? I think me trying to chase success was trying to prove to all the people that said I could never be successful. That was an insecurity. So I would say it really comes down to A, what do you want? B, why do you want it? And be honest with yourself. And then you just map out the things that you would need to do. But you have to be completely honest with yourself. And you just you have to be honest before you start. And that's a big step that I think people miss.
It is. So Robert tells you you're doing an awesome job. Okay.
Thank you. I
And
appreciate that.
but he also tells you, guess what? You're missing a book. The What If Theory.
I will How do I get it? I will get it and then
It's
I'll
on Amazon.
all right. I read a book a week, so I do.
Yes,
I
absolutely. And you
read a
can
book a
also
week,
go
Rob.
and check out the broadcast to get to know there too as well. Um, and he also says, let's go with Robert Shaw. I just love this gentleman. I tell you what, he's so dynamic and he's got such a beautiful daughter. We cannot forget her lyric. She was so awesome. Um, so he says, absolutely. We ask the what if question, but need to stand behind the why.
The why. Right.
Stand behind the why. And these are also things that we deal with Evan Carmichael as well in mentoring with him. Now I want to back up here for half a second, and I'm going to say,
There you go,
and
book guy.
stand with why. Exactly. So
Start with
start with
why.
why.
Yeah, that's Simon
Start with the
Sinek
why.
there. Yeah.
That's the one word. Okay, look.
Yeah.
So I said this in the description that I wrote for this broadcast. Um, and this is what, and I knew it was, and Evan Carmichael knows it is, and I believe that Evan Tinsman knows that this is the truth. Is that when we determine what our most painful, what we can find our purpose a lot of times from the most painful situations that we've ever experienced our entire life. And when we come through that and step out of that darkness into the light, and then do the healthy routines, and that's what I teach on a regular basis every week. It's all about the affirmations and the gratitude and the action steps and the health and the wellness, and it's all about routine. And you can use these past experiences, and I said that you did, to find your platform for strength and then share it with others. And that's exactly what I see you doing there, Evan. And you're awesome. I'm so glad that
Thank
you're
you.
here. You really
I
are.
appreciate it.
I
Thank
tell
you.
you. So we want everybody to share this video out because we want everybody to know about Evan, and let your friends know. Here's a guy too that can help other people, and he's got a story. And if you're just coming in, go back and listen to the replay.
If anybody directly or knows somebody, on the details, particularly around the shot that I took, the details of it,
Right.
you can send me messages, you can email me, I'll get on the phone with you. Like I'll share whatever I can.
That's
Like
so awesome.
my life's an open book. So I mean, my social media, like my Facebook is just Evan Tinsman. My Instagram is Evan_Tinsman. You could actually just type my name because I have all three versions of my name. Um,
That was a smart
it's
move.
just
Cover all the
yeah, lock
bases.
'em. Yeah. So I mean, people can reach out to me however they want, and
Okay, that's so awesome. I
yeah,
was going to say, make sure that we know how to get a hold of you. So if anybody has any questions directly or wants to reach out to Evan, he is there,
please
and he's
please
offering the
do.
fact that he's there to help support you. Excuse me, because we both know, that's what we're supposed to do. That's a part of the built to serve part. That
Hmm.
we're here to help and support and share our experience and the things that we've used to overcome the obstacles that stood in our way. And we've been talking about that tonight. And what I wanted to do is just make sure now you don't have your website up. You said not yet.
Not yet.
Okay.
No, not yet.
Okay.
It will be. I'm trying to figure out what to do with it now.
Right. All of a
And you know
sudden,
what?
the whole direction changed.
And truthfully, at this point, I'm not going to force anything. I'm just kind of rolling with it. Trying to
Hmm.
share my story, answer some questions. I believe whatever is meant to be will naturally happen.
It sounds
So I
like it.
just I think I'm just going to kind of keep hanging out doing this, and who knows, maybe the right connection is going to come through something like this. I don't know. So I'm
Exactly.
excited. I'm
Law of
excited to see what
attraction will
happens.
take place. And that Think
Yeah.
and Grow Rich book is an exceptional book. I mean, people, it's like their Bible. It really is.
Did you ever read his other one, The Law of Success?
I have not read that one yet. No.
Let me tell you what. All kidding aside, I promise it's the last one I'll
Yes.
pull out.
Okay.
Best book I've ever read. Now, here's the thing. Here's Think and Grow Rich.
Yes.
Here's Law of
Wow.
Success.
Wow.
It took me a while. It hands down is probably the best book I ever read.
Excellent. Excellent. So that's a great recommendation, folks, to take a look at.
It's
Absolutely.
a good winter book. It's a good winter book because you need a
Right.
lot, or a beach book, like you need a lot of time to do it. So yeah,
Exactly. As soon as the beaches open up, folks, and they are down here in Sarasota, by the way, they finally opened the beaches back up. But guess what? You got nowhere to park. Sorry about that part.
yeah, yeah.
So things are going to
Well,
come back together. We
I
were, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say
Yeah.
maybe this was just. I say this is God's way, maybe saying like everybody just put the brakes on, enjoy your
Yeah.
family, enjoy like this too shall. I know people are hurting. I know people are sick.
Yeah.
I'm not diminishing that. I've spent more time with my daughters this past month. I mean, because they're 13 and 16, they have
Right.
boyfriends and friends, and so it's like I've really been soaking up that time as much as
We need to
even
make the
even
most of it. We
even if it's
really
just
do.
calling them, even if it's just calling them on the phone during the day or catching a FaceTime with them because they're not in school and
Hmm.
just taking advantage of it. So I know it's a difficult time, and I'm glad we did this because hopefully this might get to somebody who might be struggling or contemplating or anything like that. So
Exactly, exactly. Well, that's what the LWN Foundation is doing too. Is some of the viewers that watch regularly know, we are trying to. This whole show is about people that are making a positive impact in our community, and so we're building our network of people that you can go to. So if we don't have the answers ourselves, we know where to send you to, right? And we're
mhm,
planning to have people like Evan Tinsman available for you to be able to, and he's just made that offer. So if you're struggling,
absolutely.
you want to reach out to Evan, absolutely do. Tell him again, Evan, how to reach you then.
The easiest way is if you're on Instagram, because you can. It's just I hang out there a lot. If you
Okay,
want to connect with me on Facebook, it's just my name, Evan Tinsman. Um, you can connect with me on Messenger, how you and I did.
sure. There we go.
I mean,
That's pretty
there's a.
easy.
I mean, honestly, if you spell my name right, the ST, it's my
Yes.
you can get me on etinsman@yahoo.com.
Well, there we are.
Um,
Okay.
so I mean, it's
Get ready for some emails, Evan.
yeah, by all means, just
So there's lots of information in these comments. I don't know if you can see them or not. We were actually streaming
I
to. Hmm?
I can't. I
You
take my
can't.
glasses off because so I can't read it. Yeah,
Yeah, there's comments coming through. We want to say thank you to everybody that took time to come and join us. We are streaming actually to the LWN Foundation page. We were also streaming to our website, the lwnfoundation.org, as well as our YouTube channel too. And so we really do appreciate everybody that took time to join us. And thank you so very much, Evan, for coming
absolutely,
on here and sharing your story. Do you have some final
absolutely.
thoughts for the viewers?
Yeah, I would say if you or anybody is struggling in any way, don't be afraid to reach out. Um, don't be too proud. You're not alone. Um, Many people go through things. It does not discriminate. Um, this too shall pass. Applies to a
Hmm.
lot of things, but um, just reach out if you need it. Like we've all been there. Those of us, that first step is definitely the hardest, but once you do, your life will definitely be better. So that if I can get anything across to anybody, if you so much as think you have a problem, you do, and don't
Yeah,
be afraid to ask
good
for help.
point.
That was my mistake. I wouldn't ask for it when I needed it, and I knew I should have, but I didn't.
It's okay to ask for help. It really
Yeah,
is. And
it
so
is.
when things get really tough for me, I always like to fall back on this. And um, I'll just close with this. Of course, I'll be back tomorrow morning. Remember, 6:30 for welcoming in a brand new day on the Sunrise Daybreakers Tribe. Join me for that in Town Hall tomorrow evening. But I'll leave you with this. I always go to the Serenity Prayer when I'm confused about things that I don't know what
Hmm.
the answer is that, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference between the two.
I have it on my nightstand.
If you live by that,
Yeah.
your answers will come. Thank you, everybody. We appreciate
Th-
you. Go
I
ahead there.
appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you so much for having me on. Hopefully, we can do it again one day in the future.
Absolutely. I would love to have you back on the show. That would be so awesome. All right. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you. Have a blessed evening. Enjoy, and we'll see you again tomorrow morning. Take care. Bye for
We'll
now.
see you.